Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and right before kickoff, we have an interview with sophomore quarterback for your Purple Raiders, D'Angelo Fulford. D'Angelo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing great, D'Angelo. And first, to kick things off, let's look back at last week's matchup versus the Crusaders. 6 touchdown passes from you. That is a new career high. Not to mention, all 6 touchdown passes came in that first half. What worked so well against Capital?
I think just these last couple of weeks, we've just been really gelling, like, with everybody. Everyone from Justin Hill to Jared Ruth, Friss. We have Luke Harrington starting to get in the mix, and DeMarco Haynes. I have 5 great receivers that can play anywhere.
Yeah, D'Angelo, you mentioned it. Let's look at that receiving core with Jared Ruth, Justin Hill, Braden Friss, Luke Harrington. Does it take a little of the pressure off you knowing that these are the guys you're throwing to?
Oh, definitely. And another thing to contribute to, aside from the receivers, is the O-line. I mean, no sacks for 2 weeks in a row now. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable and back in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, that offensive line has really come up big with you.
Definitely.
I mean, Cole Parrish has been a big replacement of Mitch Doherty. That was the main focus looking on that line, and he's really stepped up in a big way.
Oh, most definitely. And having someone like him to gel that sophomore group of guys that are in there for Fitchett and Fluff because they're hurt right now helps a lot.
And, D'Angelo, we look at, your numbers so far throughout the season. You've been amongst the most accurate QBs in the OAC at 72.5% passing the ball. With that, you've taken special care of the ball as well. Hopefully I'm not jinxing you with it.
Yeah,
no interceptions.
Knock on wood now.
Knock on wood on that one. No interceptions so far through 6 games. But what is one characteristic that you're looking at in your game that you have focused on in the 2017 season?
I think my biggest thing coming into this season was everybody knew I could run the ball, but knowing when to run the ball and not forcing any balls downfield. Like, I have my legs as my backup option, and I'm never forcing a ball. And,
D'Angelo, you're among the Mount Union players who have come from Florida. Florida obviously doesn't have any Division III schools, and we see a lot of them, find their way here at Mount Union. I'm always interested in the stories of how players come to Mount Union and how they've gelled. D'Angelo, so I want to hear your story. How did you find Mount Union?
Mount Union actually found me. I was one of those guys that kind of fell through the crack, and I went to a spring camp, and there were some Mount Union coaches there, and it was a couple, mostly OAC schools. I think Wittenberg was one more school that was there, but Mount just really caught my eye. And like South Florida, we always say we got that dog in us, and that's definitely one thing Mount Union brings to the table. They got that dog in them.
They definitely do, D'Angelo. And, we look at your freshman year, definitely a learning curve. I mean, in last season, we saw 3 freshman quarterbacks between you, Poorman, and Dom Davis start at one point in the season. There was a lot of adversity to face last season. So we come into this season, we're unsure who's going to be that quarterback taking the snaps, but you win the job, and you've done a tremendous job throughout this season. So I look at last season, D'Angelo. I want to know, what was your main focus heading into the offseason? And what changes did you have to make?
Well, my biggest things coming back this year was to come back bigger, faster, stronger, and smarter than I was last year. And I think right now I'm hitting everything on that list. What most people don't realize from last year is they put that chip on my shoulder for this season, and now they're mad that I got it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just taking out all that pain that I felt last year on the field now.
That's really good. We look at last season, you faced some adversity yourself personally. You had the broken collarbone. Just kind of walk us through that injury and, what you needed to do to come back to what you are now.
Well, one thing a lot of people don't know, man, is my playing weight last year was around 200 pounds, and I dropped down to like 178 at my lowest point. And a lot of people don't know, like, the battle that it took to, one, stay mentally strong and, know, hey, I got to work through this and bounce back step by step. But to also actually come back and perform and not have those pregame jitters, which I still get now. But
of course.
That NC Wesleyan game, you could ask anybody. Like, the night before, I was not sleeping. I was I was up twiddling my thumbs waiting for the game. So, I tell everybody, man, I'm just happy to be back out on the field.
So, D'Angelo, we look more into the season. We've seen in a couple games the emergence of senior quarterback Robert Powell, who is the transfer from Kentucky Christian. Very mobile QB that we first witnessed in Marietta. Can you explain the game plan using Powell and how it has been so effective when we've seen Powell out on the field?
Well, I think Rob's a good switch up for me because, nothing taken away from anything from Rob's game. He can throw the ball just as well as anybody on the team. But Rob's run threat comes into play where teams got to prepare for that every single week. So not only do you have to prepare for all of our formations and what I'm doing when I'm in, but you also got to prepare for an entirely different package when he's in the game as well.
Obviously, and D'Angelo, the one goal for you guys this year, obviously, to get back to the national championship and become victorious again, being on top. So, in your opinion, what will it take to be back on top for Mount Union?
I think this team just has to keep gelling more and more. Like, we see it, like, every week we're getting stronger and stronger, and we're starting to figure out, like, when we want to and we can turn that switch on, it gets dangerous for everybody else.
Of course. We look at you said earlier about getting jitters, but especially before that NC Wesleyan game, the first game coming out there for you this season. D'Angelo, just take us through your game day routine. What gets you ready for a game?
It starts off, we have Monday morning, or not Monday, but Saturday morning film session. I got to have my waffle with chocolate chips. And that's it, nothing else. A couple Gatorades, get my Sour Patch Kids before the game, and then I'm out on the field listening to music, getting hyped with my boys.
There you go, man. Sour Patch Kids, huh?
Yeah, got to be extreme sour, too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like Marshawn Lynch with the Skittles. You like the
definitely.
Sour Patch.
Definitely.
I like it. So let's look at today's matchup versus Wilmington. The Quakers come in with a 1-5 record. They've struggled throughout the years, and they're hungry to get back in that win column this week. What will be the main focus for Mount Union today to come away with a win?
Well, I think one thing Mount Union does well is we don't take any opponent lightly. Like, we train for everybody the same way we do. Like, we'll train for Wilmington the same way we would for Mary Hardin Baylor or John Carroll or any other big team out there. We don't take it lightly for anyone.
So, D'Angelo, let's look even more in-depth in that offense. Let's look at the backfield. We talked to Jawanda about this characteristic of the offense, and we talked about how it appears to be a three-headed monster in the backfield between not only yourself, but with Jawanda Evans-Morris and Josh Petrocelli, the freshman running back. And just give me your opinion of the rushers between Jawanda and Petrocelli and how it has worked so well in the first 6 games.
Well, I think their running styles are kind of similar. I mean, they both have great power. They both can break it at any point in time. Petro's got the little hurdle that he likes to do.
He loves doing that.
Yeah, but I like you said, that three-headed monster, we've been talking about it in practice. It's like, okay, as you're a defense, how do you prepare for us? Do you drop 8 and try to cover the pass and open up the run game for those guys inside, even if you load the box? And then you got one-on-one outside with receivers. It's kind of it's triple threat wherever you go.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we look at the running backs, and then even if they cover the running game, you got guys like Justin Hill and Jared Ruth and even Braden Friss where you can throw the ball to. So last question for you, D'Angelo. If you were to give one word to describe this team this year, which word would you use? It's a tough question.
It's tough. I would just say hungry.
Hungry?
Hungry. We're vengeful right now. We're ready to. We're just hungry to prove everybody wrong. We're hungry to regain our name, regain our poise of Mount Union. Like, we're trying to let everybody know we're hungry. We're back this year.
So a hungry team, the Purple Raiders are. I think last season, resiliency would be the word for them. I mean, a lot of adversity faced, but you guys faced it. But I think last year's season for you guys, a lot of young players returning this year, and
I think of us had that bad taste in our mouth. We're hungry to prove people wrong this year.
Indeed, and you guys shown it so far in the 6 games, and hopefully moving forward, you guys obviously 4 more games this season in the OAC. Wilmington with John Carroll coming up in a few weeks, obviously. But, your main focus for right now is trying to go game by game, get back to the national championship, and prove yourselves. So hungry, a great word for this 2017 Purple Raiders team. So they're going to get ready to play Wilmington tonight as they will play the Quakers at Wilmington. D'Angelo Fulford, WRMU player of the game last week. Hopefully you can lead these guys to yet another victory against the Quakers and just keep moving on forward as the Purple Raiders get set to take on Wilmington from Williams Stadium. We're going to take a short break here on 91.1 WRMU. When we get back, we will be live from Williams Stadium. Myself, Nathan Kennedy, and Will Brienza will have the call. Keep it locked in here on the home of your Purple.